it's good to see you again. How do you make sense of a senseless situation? Like, have you ever thought some version of that? Especially Yeezy days. This was recorded Thursday, September 15th. Like, I've talked to a couple of my friends, J, C, and Eli. Sorry for the schizo posting. It was as difficult for me as it was for you. But ultimately the source of all this nonsense was the utter absurdity of this situation known as reality. My main point in all of this babble was the following. The reason I sound like I am schizo posting is because you have to be fucking insane to begin to understand the gravity of current events. Unironically, this is the conclusion I come up with so consistently. I feel, and this is all opinions by the way, that in our nonsensical reality the only way we can accurately describe actual world news and history is to go on like a 40-minute schizo post, and this is because in order to describe the nonsensical we must become nonsensical. We quite literally have to embrace the absurdity in order to process the absurdity of life. And life is really absurd when you start to think about for more than like 5 minutes. Everybody knows this, which is why the powers that be distract you with pop culture so you don't think. Content is pushed down our throats for a reason. And it seems the current meta in this playthrough is to simultaneously acknowledge all the following I've said and just ignore it. Cos and quat. Nah bro, that's fake news. Oh, by the way, did you hear about how Kanye called Tyler the creator a poopy head? And quat. Or to acknowledge what I said and be cursed with this knowledge. Some say ignorance is bliss, but that doesn't satisfy us, as we see the material reality. Ignorance creates the pain for many of us, but not our own ignorance, but the collective malnutrition of our prefrontal cortex. Again, nothing said here is debatable, other than the brain shit, and is all a Google search away, but most people are so lazy or tired or stressed to even care about the 2 minutes of reading they will do and therefore don't do it. Or they are too high to care. My god, the drug problem in this country is so bad I can't even begin to explain it. And when it comes to most situations this is the case. So this negativity in regards of quality of life creates this aura of protective ignorance, as they realize that they are one bad work day away from death. Therefore, if they even think about thinking about questioning their role in the hierarchy, that would most likely be a death sentence. And it doesn't help that the media actively enforces this idea. It is often forgotten that media inherently has best, even this is biased. So since we forget that we are subjected to the worst of the worst in regards of propaganda, as, like many, have pointed out time and time again, and I cannot stress this enough, the media's whole intention is to maintain the capitalist status quo by presenting quote-unquote real objective news while simultaneously calling black people and quat, looters and quat, and unquat, thugs and quat, and this is proven time and time again and people just don't seem to be comprehending it. Like, for example, look at how local news channels cover strikes and other labor disputes. Oh my god, a cop, fentanyl overdose, which have largely been proven as mass hysteria, but we aren't there yet. The reactionary nature of the media essentially brainwashes us into the most reactionary positions, and the media, knows this and actively works this to fit nearly any agenda that gets people viewing them, and that is essentially what this all about, consumption. For in this may sound like a vaporwave cyberpunk nightmare, but as long as you keep consuming the product, in this case being media, the owners will literally go to any depth to keep you coming back. 4. Especially in the media industry, but industry in general, it revolves around the consumer. Ideally, giving them what they want to see, even if it is something they think they do not. 1. Ideally, if these corporates could, they would have you hooked to a conveyor belt of consumption with a Gucci chair with a Reese's IV giving the good shit only for you to take your slow down pill by buyer, but then when that wears off you are given a morning dose of Maxwell House Super Coffee, now with 20% meth, only to begin the previous cycle over again, leading to your death, where you get put in an incinerator to fuel the USS Ligma Ball's starship of hot new racer Aquarius Fletcher, who races for the DORITO League for the Amazon Cup, brought to you by Viacom. And again, this seems extreme because of course this is, but how much of it is too devolved from current reality? My point being, we are as a society so obsessed with these brands that recognition becomes everything, and people currently in this current meta already pretty much worship these corporates. So since we acknowledge this, I feel we can stretch our minds a little and take it a bit further than what we currently are. The thing that worries the most, I guess, is the idea and slowly arriving truth that many people are simply okay with living in the war-y world that the corporates are proposing, and this saddens me personally, as I fundamentally believe that technology can free us from this reality, but I also understand that corporates use this seemingly freeing technology to shackle us more. It hurts. And I guess my big thing is that to even being to slightly explain how fucked things truly are, you, the explainer, have to embrace the absurdity and hope that the listener takes you 1% serious. Because that seed planted can create a chain reaction of the brain essentially waking up. And because I am optimistic, I am given joy by the mere possibility that a seed is planted, because a better world is possible, but only if enough people unironically wake up. The rich have class consciousness, they look out for each other. The working class needs to do that do. There is no debate as to who is working class. Black, white, people of all creeds of life. A working class. The only definition of working class that I use is this: the working class or proletariat is the members of which must under capitalism sell their labor in order to earn a living. The proletarian struggle with the bourgeois is a tale as old of time, yet most Americans see themselves as future millionaires, which is one of the most wholesome and depressing things ever, as most of these people don't have $400 in their pocket for emergencies. The American proletariat has been conditioned into having what I can only call and quote peasant brain and quote, where they are not merely bootlickers, they are the boot. This sucks for many reasons, as trying to tell them of their material conditions results in insulter and literal peasant behavior, like saying, and quote, I'm grateful to make what I make as it could be worse, and quote, and while they are not wrong, that mindset corrodes your brain and prevents you from doing anything to resist against the awful life forced upon you. It really feels weird living on a server where, like the wrong spawn point turns can make your brain devolve 400 years. I mean, it could worse, like we could live in Saudi Arabia, but I mean, if we are comparing our lives to Saudi Arabia, I think we have already fucked up. What annoys me about that Saudi Arabia remark is people think they are giga-brained for thinking that, like, brother, That is not a good thing, my G. I guess what upsets me the most is the lack of ability for me to advocate for the issues I want, because we have issues solving the issues that are like super basic shit: wages, shelter, healthcare, etc. Yet we collectively feel that we are entitled to tell other countries how to operate. Like, bro, let's solve our shit first. But we cannot even do that, and I have to remind you that this is by design. For in order for many of progress to happen, that is need in this country that would have to result in a loss of profits for like 3 people, and we just can't have that. We would willingly rather let millions, if not billions, suffer if it meant that 5 people made the slightest profit. This is all about the line going up, and heaven forbid it even go down 0.5%. This fact is drilled into our heads constantly, and thus the peasant mind is the result. Now I have to remind you that this is simply an opinion piece that I just write for fun. Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this record in no way endorses a belief in the occult. Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this record in no way endorses a belief in the occult. Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this record in no way endorses a belief in the occult. Due to my strong personal convictions, I wish to stress that this record in no way endorses a belief in the occult.